Welcome to Byte-Sized Tech, where we like to blend casual conversations with some hopefully insightful discussions on the latest in technology and gadgets.
Yeah.
And today, we're going to dive headfirst into the wild world, where tech and politics and elections kind of all collide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a timely topic. With the upcoming election, we'll be exploring the role of Silicon Valley's tech giants,
Yeah.
the security of our voting systems, and, the ever-present threat of misinformation.
It's almost like Election Day has become this massive information overload,
Right.
like trying to drink from a fire hose.
Yes.
Right. Have you ever felt that way?
Oh, yeah, like overwhelmed by all the noise and all the opinions and everything.
Yeah. And speaking of opinions, let's talk about these tech leaders
Yeah.
who seem to have a lot to say about politics these days.
Right.
Feels like their voices are getting amplified, and they're definitely not shying away from expressing their views.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how it's kind of evolved over time. Our sources actually trace this back to the early 90s when Bill Clinton made a real effort to connect with Silicon Valley.
Interesting.
He wanted to present the Democratic Party as more pro-business and tech-friendly.
So it was kind of like a charm offensive directed at the tech world.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it seems to have worked.
Yeah.
Those early endorsements from tech leaders probably helped Clinton gain support from that whole community.
Yeah.
Just showing how much influence they could wield.
Right. And fast forward to today, and we've got figures like Elon Musk, who's become a bit of a political wild card, wouldn't you say?
He is a wild card.
Yeah. Supporting candidates from both sides of the aisle, which makes it hard to predict where his influence might land.
Right. He's a great example of how these tech leaders can really shake things up in the political landscape.
Yeah.
They've got these massive platforms and a dedicated following, so their opinions definitely carry weight.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got tech leaders making their voices heard. But let's shift gears and talk about the nuts and bolts of our elections.
Okay.
How secure are our voting systems? I think that's a question on a lot of people's minds.
It is, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
But, the good news is that election systems are more secure than ever before.
Okay.
And a lot of that is due to, their designation as critical infrastructure.
Oh, wow.
So, think of it like this.
Yeah.
Protecting our elections is now considered just as important as protecting our power grids and transportation systems.
So it's being taken very seriously.
Absolutely.
Right.
There's been a huge push to strengthen these systems against all sorts of threats, both from within the country and from foreign actors.
Right.
And one of the most reassuring facts I came across is that 97% of registered voters are now in jurisdictions with paper records.
That's a huge relief. It's like having a safety net for our democracy.
Exactly.
So even if there's some kind of issue with the electronic systems, there's a backup to ensure accuracy.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay, good.
But as robust as these systems are, there's another threat that's much harder to contain.
Okay.
And that's the spread of misinformation.
Yeah, it's like a digital fog of war.
It is.
You're trying to make these informed decisions, but it's hard to tell what's real and what's not.
Right. And the scary part is that this misinformation can have a very real impact on how people vote.
Yeah.
We've seen instances of false information about voter registration deadlines or fabricated stories about voting machines malfunctioning.
Yeah, it's insidious.
Yeah.
It preys on people's anxieties, and it undermines their trust in the whole process.
Exactly. And what's even more troubling is that, these days, misinformation isn't always coming from foreign agents or trolls or whatever.
Right.
It can come from sources within our own country.
Yeah.
Which makes it even harder to detect and debunk.
Right. So what can we do about it? Are we just doomed to drown in this sea of misinformation every election cycle?
No, not at all.
Okay, good.
There are things that we can do.
Yeah.
One of the sources highlighted some promising initiatives. Things like fact-checking organizations, public education campaigns, and increased monitoring of social media platforms.
So it sounds like a multi-pronged attack on misinformation.
It is, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
You, the listener, have a crucial role to play too.
Okay.
You're on the front lines of this information war.
Wow.
By staying informed, checking your sources, and thinking critically about what you see online, you can help stop the spread of misinformation.
So it's like we're all digital detectives now.
Exactly. Be skeptical, ask questions, and don't believe everything you read online.
Right.
If something seems too good to be true or designed to trigger a strong emotional reaction, it probably is.
Yeah, so check those sources, look for those red flags, and don't fall for those clickbait headlines that are designed to play on our fears.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to have respectful conversations with people who might have different views. We can disagree without resorting to spreading misinformation.
It's about finding that common ground, right?
Yeah.
We might have different opinions, but we can at least agree on the facts.
Exactly. And, if we kind of connect this to the bigger picture, the fight against misinformation isn't just about elections.
Okay.
It's about protecting the very foundation of our democracy.
Wow, when you put it that way, it really raises the stakes.
It does.
It's not just about picking a candidate, it's about ensuring that our system of government remains fair and trustworthy.
Exactly. And that's why your role as an informed and responsible citizen is so important.
Yeah.
Every time you share an article, like a post or comment on something online,
Mm-hmm.
you're contributing to the information ecosystem.
Right.
Make sure your contributions are thoughtful and accurate.
So it's like we all have this shared responsibility to be good digital citizens.
Exactly. And remember, even though the online world can feel overwhelming, especially during election season,
Yeah.
there are still ways to navigate it safely and responsibly.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this bite-sized deep dive into the world of election security and misinformation. It's certainly been an eye-opening conversation.
Yeah. Before we go, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay.
What steps can you take to ensure you're getting accurate information about the election?
It's a question we should all be asking ourselves, not just during election season, but all the time.
Right?
Because staying informed and engaged is an ongoing process.
Well said.
Thanks for tuning in to Byte-Sized Tech. If you enjoyed the episode, like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun tech discussions.
Yeah, it's like we're all part of this giant interconnected web of information.
Yeah.
And we need to be mindful of the threads that we're weaving.
I like that analogy. We're all responsible for the overall health and integrity of that web.
Mm-hmm.
And, if we all do our part to make sure that, the information we're consuming and sharing is accurate and reliable, then we can, make it a stronger, more vibrant tapestry of knowledge.
It sounds a little cheesy, but it's true.
So what are some practical things our listeners can do
Right.
to make sure they're getting accurate information, especially during this election season?
Well, first and foremost, diversify your sources.
Oh.
Don't rely on just one news outlet or social media platform for your information.
Right.
Branch out, explore different perspectives, and compare how different sources are covering the same story.
That's like getting a second opinion.
Exactly.
You wouldn't trust just one doctor's diagnosis
Right.
without seeking a second opinion.
Exactly.
Same applies to information.
Absolutely. And be wary of sensationalized headlines or overly emotional language.
Okay.
Those are often red flags that the information might be biased or inaccurate.
It's like clickbait for your brain.
It's designed to trigger a reaction rather than inform you.
Right.
So take a deep breath, think critically, and don't let your emotions get hijacked by a catchy headline.
And if something seems questionable, fact check it.
Yes.
There are some great websites out there like Snopes and PolitiFact that can help you separate fact from fiction.
Absolutely. Fact-checking is a superpower.
Oh,
Use it wisely.
so it's like we're all digital superheroes fighting for truth, justice, and accurate information.
I love that. And remember, even though the online world can feel like a battleground sometimes, especially during an election,
Right.
we can choose to be forces for good in that space.
Yeah.
We can promote civil discourse, share accurate information, and help create a more informed and engaged citizenry.
Well, on that note of digital heroism, I think it's time to wrap up this episode of Byte-Sized Tech.
Okay.
It's been a fascinating conversation, and I hope our listeners feel empowered to navigate the world of election information with confidence and a critical eye.
Me too. Remember, your vote matters, your voice matters, and your commitment to accurate information matters.
Thanks for tuning in to Byte-Sized Tech. If you enjoyed the episode, like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun tech discussions.